Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sanctuary Boston. My name is Jo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. We're going to get ourselves started with singing together. Invite you to do whatever you need to do this evening to fully arrive, to have fun, to be in your body. If that's sit quietly and reflect, if that's stand and dance about, if that's sing loudly and sing harmonies, encourage you to just do what you need to do. We're going to start off with Chico Gospel by Mamuse, which is one I quite like a lot. Invite you, if you'd like, it might be a good one to rise and do a cool snap of the fingers. There was a time I believed life was over for me. There was a time I believed my life was over. I feel strong today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end, like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no love for me. There was a time I believed I'd get no loving. I feel love today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end, like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no money for me. There was a time I believed there'd be no money. I feel rich today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end, like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. There was a time I believed there'd be no peace for me. There was a time I believed there'd be no peace. I feel peace today, thanks to your help. I'll find my way, and I too will lend you a hand when you need one. Sometimes I get so down, I feel like this is the end, like there's no way in hell I can get over this mountain. The sun has come out beyond the shadow of my doubt. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever. I am walking on this earth stronger than ever.
my increasing mission to make every single Beatles song into a church hymn. Tonight we're doing...
It's going to be a long project.
It really will be. Tonight we're doing 2 Beatles songs we've never done before. In fact, 5 songs tonight we've never done before. That's not normal. But here's the first Beatles one. This is a classic. We'll be talking about money a lot tonight, and this is one of their early favorites, Can't Buy Me Love. 1, 2. Can't buy me love.
Ring my friend if it makes you feel alright. Buy you anything, my friend,
And if it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. I give you all I got to give if you say you love me too. I have a lot to give, but what I got, I'll give to you. 'Cause I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. Oh, can't buy me love. No, 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 no. Say you don't need no diamond ring, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things that money just can't buy. For I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. Everybody tells me so. Can't buy me love. No, 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 no. Say you don't need no diamond rings, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things the money just can't buy. For I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. Love can't buy me love. No.
You rocked the guitar right off.
My guitar in the middle of the song, but it happened.
Words from our sanctuary member, Reverend Alex Killingberg. You can't fool me. Money is no replacement for love. A Manhattan is no substitute for good conversation. I'm not a houseplant. I need more than sun and water. Lift your voices in harmony, sharing tears, banishing fears. Ask me again, how are you? And then listen. Listen to each other. Dance around the fire. You don't need feet for that. You don't need to work on your workflow. I promise that is all nonsense. You are plenty efficient enough. You are a sacred vessel of light, of ideas. You are not your portfolio, your equity. Happiness is not coming as soon as you're done with this debt, this degree, this child, this house. Happiness is when you see someone suddenly as if you've never seen them before. When the waves of pleasure crash over you and you finally stop fighting them. When you get the coffee right. When the moon blocks the sun and you realize you live on a miraculous floating ball in space. When your child takes your hand to show you something they've drawn. When you ask for help and people say, yes, of course, you are a being of light, exactly where you are supposed to be. Don't forget, okay?
Well, welcome all to Sanctuary Boston, a community of vibrant worship and real connection, grounded in Unitarian Universalism and open to seekers of all kinds. My name is Matt, and I'm the Director of Community Life here for Sanctuary. And just a couple of logistics to get us started. We're still masking for the worship part, so if you come early and want to join us for food and soup in the other room, you're always welcome to do that at 6 o'clock, but we ask that you have a mask in worship if you're able, and we've got extras over at the table for you. What else? We are, a shout out particularly to those of us joining online from all over the place. It's so good to have you connecting with us from afar, and we invite you to get connected in the chat box as well to say hello. Share your name and where you're joining us from as well. One of the folks joining us from farthest away this evening is our guest speaker and the message giver this evening, Liz James, joining us from Saskatoon. If you don't know where that is, it's in Saskatchewan. If you don't know where that is, join the club. It's a long drive, though. #van life. I'm so excited for this service talking about the meaning of money. Not only is the culture of not talking about money part of how they keep us from sharing it, part of how capitalism perpetuates itself, and particularly wealth inequality perpetuates itself by having people not talk about money, how much we're making, how much we need, what we need to get by, who's getting paid what for what kind of jobs. So I think this is a revolutionary political act for us to gather and have conversations like this. It's why we also have had a money small group, which I hope we'll be doing again in the future. But I also think it's a very religious thing to do, to gather as a spiritual community and talk about the things that we don't get to talk about in other places. The things that weigh on our hearts, like paying the bills, or what to do with money, or how much is enough. Those things that weigh on our hearts, like how to move through grief, or what to do when we've lost a loved one. You know, sex and death and money are some of the things that we're not supposed to talk about in polite company, and so thank goodness we're not that. Thank goodness we have a community where we talk about what matters most, what weighs on us the most, what lifts us up the most, which are some of the things that we're not always supposed to talk about in other places. And so let me start by sharing a little extra about money, because we had our Sanctuary first ever anti-capitalist community auction on Saturday. Were any of you here? Would you give a shout out in the chat if you were there? Let me share some things about the money of this, because an auction is a very money-focused thing, but you all know by now, because we've been talking about it, we did it a little differently than most auctions. So first of all, the first number is that yesterday I sent out 171 emails to winners of auction items. There were 171 people that won something, and it's a lot of emails. I have a system. But I love that that also is going to mean in the coming months in this community, 171 times people are going to be gathering together for parties and events and teaching each other lessons and giving each other handmade, homemade gifts and chocolate and care packages. And that's such a beautiful thing to see, what we've been calling this tidal wave of community care that's going to emanate out from this one event. In addition, we also raised over $14,160 at this event, so that's awesome. I'll say this, it takes money to run a community. It takes a lot of other things, but money is definitely one of them, and so this is like a huge boost for Sanctuary to continue to survive and thrive and grow into the future. And so that's very exciting. And I love in particular, I just can't talk about this enough, that this was an anti-capitalist auction. And so the number of tickets that you had to bid had nothing to give with how much US currency you spent. Everybody got the same 500 tickets. And I did not realize when we started this what a radical idea this was, because it was a pain in the ass to figure out how to do it. And in particular, you need to get like an economics degree to figure out all the logistics of it. But also we were like, well, churches do this all the time. They have like websites for this, right? Well, they have websites for regular auctions. My mom at her home church, they just spent $6,000 to buy the software for their next auction. But none of the websites are anti-capitalist. And so when I shared that with our board, Nathan on our board said, well, I can build an anti-capitalist auction website. And then he built the most beautiful, the most perfect, the most fabulous website for us. And this is so amazing, not just because like this was one of 100 ways that people stepped up to like offer each other gifts in this whole process, but also it is so striking to me that religious community should be about building the world, building the infrastructure of community care that doesn't exist in other places, and building an alternative to the dominant systems that divide us and separate us by wealth inequality and in so many other ways. And we actually built infrastructure for that, for this auction, and it was so clear to me how much it was needed and how we do that in so many ways, this just being one tangible version. I wanted to share that story of money with you as we're getting started tonight, because Sanctuary Boston is a community building an alternative to the systems of division and oppression that are surrounding us, and building a community of care and connection and peace and justice. So thank you for being a part of that and doing that building with us this evening. Let's welcome each other into this space made sacred by your presence with our words of welcome. I'm going to invite our campus organizer, Adele, to come read our words, and I'll invite you all to read along with whatever phrases or fonts most resonate for you.
Whether you go to church on Sunday morning,
or light candles on Friday nights,
whether you've been hurt by religion,
saved by it,
or some of both,
whether you're brand new to spiritual community,
or a seasoned seeker,
whoever you are, whatever you are,
wherever you are on your journey,
we welcome you. And now it is the time of the night to greet your neighbor, and either someone sitting next to you, someone across the room, and we encourage you to greet someone that you've never talked to before, maybe even two people. And for people on Zoom, we can wave hi to the camera over there, and you can say hello and where you're joining from in the chat. Thanks. That one's not on this one.
Welcome back. Welcome back from greeting your new or old or somewhere in the middle neighbor. I invite you to come back into this space if you'd like to be in here. Don't get too settled in your seat in case you want to get back out of it. And we'll invite you to join as you feel moved as we sing our next tune here. Money, you get away. You get a good job with more pay and you're okay. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. New car, caviar, 4-star daydream. Think I'll buy me a football team. Money, get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep your hands off of my stack. Money, collecting rent. Don't give me that goody good nonsense. In the high fidelity first class traveling set, and I think I need a Learjet. Money, it's a crime. Share it fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie. Money, so they say, is the root of all evil today. But if you ask for a rise, it's no surprise that they're giving none away. 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 Away.
Hi. It is so exciting to be here in person. I'm regularly one of the people here on Zoom, and it's so wonderful to be here in the room with you. The first thing I ever shoplifted was broccoli. I was 15. I was just coming off a stretch of being homeless, and I had recently entered foster care. My foster mother was having some struggles of her own at the time, and there was no food in the house for me or my foster sisters. I had reasoned through the morality of shoplifting in this situation. A fair society feeds its children. I had a right to take matters into my own hands, that sort of thing. I'd shored up my courage by humming tunes from Les Miserables on the way to the grocery store. But to be on the safe side, I had to steal the most moral thing that I could think of, which was broccoli. I don't recommend broccoli as a first shoplifting caper. It does have the advantage of being found in the vegetable section, which is not too carefully watched for shoplifters, but it's large. It's kind of like grippy when you try and slide it under your coat, but I did pull it off. And then I ran home with it tucked under there, high on adrenaline and this pride, and I was only a kid myself, and I was feeding my sisters. I unloaded my bounty onto the kitchen table with a triumphant thud, and my younger sister stared at me, and then she stared at the broccoli, and she said, "I'm not eating that, it's gross." The worst thing about shoplifting broccoli is that you are morally obligated to make sure that it does not go to waste. A whole head of broccoli, raw, is a lot of broccoli. The next time, I stole icing. That went over better. There were fewer leftovers. Then I stole some clothes I needed. And then I stole some clothes I wanted. And then I stole a Vanilla Ice CD, which I have trouble justifying on several levels. Pretty soon, I was stealing a lot. I had gone from doing what was necessary to just being a thief. Until the day that I stopped. I remember that day just as vividly. I was standing in that same store, chocolate icing in my hand. I was in a different foster home at this point, a new one. I'd been there for a couple of months. It was headed by a single dad named Ed. Ed went to work and came home, cooked supper, read mystery novels on the couch, and went to bed. There was always food. There was never any drama. I think at the time I thought it was a little bit boring, if I remember. But looking back, I know that Ed saved my life. And so I was standing in the grocery aisle, staring down at the chocolate icing in my hand, and I was thinking about what Ed's face would look like if I got caught. Because Ed didn't know I was a thief. He expected more of me. So I put the icing back, and I walked out, and I never stole again. From there, the story looks a lot like a pull yourself up by the bootstraps narrative. I stopped stealing. I stopped a whole host of difficult behaviors. I got my grades up. I got through high school and earned my BA. I ended up married to a doctor living a very respectable stay-at-home mom church lady life, unless you look too closely at the church. When I tell this story in a UU context, people are always so kind. They are quick to reassure me that I have nothing to be ashamed of, and they tell me I had no choice but to steal. But that's not true. I didn't just steal food. I stole clothes so I could look like my peers. I stole CDs so I could lie on the grass with my eyes closed and listen to music. Even that food that got me started in the beginning, Saskatchewan has food banks and soup kitchens. Stealing was not my only way to eat. I did have limited choices, but within those limits, I could have done better. In university, I got a chance to study the root causes of crime. I had always thought of crime as something that came from individual decisions because I remembered making those decisions. But research shows that groups act in fairly predictable ways in response to their context. Yes, I didn't make perfect choices, but it turns out that making imperfect choices is something people do all the time, not just people with limited money. And if you want to change a crime rate, you don't lecture people about being moral, you don't even punish them more, you change the context that they're living in. I wasn't a bad person when I stole things. I was a person whose situation had overwhelmed her and who was having trouble thinking clearly. I stole because I was so deeply hungry, physically and emotionally. And when I wasn't, I stopped. Fast forward to my 30s, to my doctor's wife, mother, church lady years. I was working on a campaign aimed at getting the government of Saskatchewan to implement a poverty reduction plan. We chose the campaign title Poverty Costs because we were trying to get across the point that it's actually not frugal to allow people to suffer. Things like hospital stays, police involvement, homeless shelters, there's pretty good math that shows that paying people's rent is cheaper than the alternative. We chose this somewhat sociopathic sounding angle because it's true and it's a good argument, and for us it was good strategy. We were working with a conservative government. I don't know how it is here, but in Canada, telling a conservative government that they are at risk of losing the Unitarian Universalist vote is not so effective. Conservative politicians don't usually see us as one of their key voting blocs. We can't just convince the usual suspects, a teammate said, summarizing the reason for our strategy. We need to reach people who are oriented towards money more than compassion, you know, like the ones who live in penthouses. I live in a penthouse, I said. My friend knew this. He had been to my house. We had had meetings of this committee in my house. I didn't mean you, he stammered. I meant like people who live in penthouses. It's okay, I grinned, and we laughed because it was pretty funny. But that night I couldn't sleep. I know in my bones what it's like to have no home at all. And what business did I have taking more house than I needed? When the boys' dad and I separated a few years later, it was not immediately clear what was going to happen with the finances. And so on instinct, I moved into a tiny apartment. Each boy had a bedroom, and I slept in the living room, and I spent very carefully. I had a book called Your Money or Your Life, and I went through the process it outlines, which is fun and life-changing. And over time, I learned to feel what the authors call your point of enough. It was hard to recognize at first because we're not taught that a point of enough is even possible, sort of like recognizing a unicorn. But over time, I felt my ability to sense it thawing, like a frozen limb. By the end of that year, our divorce was finalized and I had more to spend. And now it was time for me to start making some financial decisions. I realized I had fallen in love with the lifestyle of enough. I loved my cozy little apartment. I loved Squeaky, my very old minivan that didn't matter if you scratched it. I loved beans and rice and board games in the evenings. I realized I had everything that I needed in a life that fit me, that felt like this share of things is for me the right size. I am not romanticizing poverty here. Religion can sometimes lean that way with nuns and monks and vows of poverty and so on. A vow of enough is a different thing. I had savings, I had security, I had money for the things that mattered to me. And so I set a generous threshold and I committed to giving away everything beyond that amount. This turned out to be shockingly comfortable. It was quite delightful, actually. Even from a totally selfish perspective, the joy of watching what gets built with that money is the funnest thing that I can buy with it. After living this way for a few months, I couldn't believe I had ever lived differently, and I kept thinking about all the people who could have been helped if I had figured this out sooner. I shouldn't have waited for a divorce to start living a life that was more in line with my values. This new set of regrets was a lot harder to work through for me than the stealing was. Because it's harder to forgive yourself for the choices you make when you're the one with the power, when you are not too hungry to think. But feeling stuck in a system you don't agree with and trying to figure out how to push back, it's really hard. It's a different kind of hard than poverty. I found it to be quite a bit of an easier kind of hard than poverty, but it was still hard. At this point, I had long since made peace with my history of stealing, but now I had a whole process again with a different set of decisions that I'd made, but I did ultimately make that peace. And so today, if I could speak to 15-year-old me who was stealing or 35-year-old me in the penthouse, I would tell those versions of myself both the exact same thing. First, I would tell them that they have more choices than they realize. 15-year-old me could have gone to a food bank or a soup kitchen. 35-year-old me could have participated in the financial decisions of her household differently. We have more freedom than we realize, and going forward in my life now, I want to recognize that freedom and use it. I also want to forgive myself the times that I don't. The second thing I would say to 15-year-old Liz and 35-year-old Liz is that you are not a bad person every time you fail to push back. Systems exert pressure. No matter which place in the system you find yourself in, your choices are not going to be perfect. I don't know which choices feel most alive to you in your life right now, and I don't know what you are struggling with. But if you felt a welling of forgiveness towards me for doing what I had to do when I was a kid, I invite you to tap into that same well for yourself with the choices that you are facing, particularly this month. 'Tis the season, after all, of unrealistic expectations, financial and otherwise. I hope you will have enough this season, in every way. I hope you will get to be a part of as many holidays activities as you are excited to go to, and not a single one more. I hope if you give gifts, you will have enough to give as many as are truly meaningful for everyone involved, and not a single one more. I hope that you will have time with all the relatives that you want, and not a single evening more. I hope you will seek out and get the things that bring you joy, and that you will feel free to draw the boundaries where you need them to be. I hope you will give yourself permission to make choices this season that are in line with what you value. Of course, I hope this at the same time as knowing it's not going to totally work out that way. We live in the real world. There will be compromises. I hope you navigate those choices in a way that will bring you peace. And if you don't quite pull that off, I really hope you will cut yourself some slack. Maybe you will make financial decisions this month you aren't happy about. Maybe you'll manage your time less perfectly than you could. Maybe you will let Uncle Herbert push all your buttons over family differ, and the calm, self-differentiated response you had planned will dissolve into a wild mess of rage tears. If any of these things happen, be gentle with yourself. Remember, people are products of their contexts, and you are a people. Sometimes you are just too physically or emotionally hungry, and you take the simplest route to what you need. And that's fine. Making choices you don't always love is part of the path of making it to choices that are right to you. The next chance to get it right is just around the corner. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. Not just a little kindness either, generous helpings of gentleness and grace and self-compassion, because that is how much it will take. This season, I wish you enough.
Somebody made you mean, and that's not how it's supposed to be. You're ready to challenge and defend, yeah, but for all the wrong reasons. How much do we really need? A question, if you have to ask, just means what it means. The question that says everything. Somebody made you mean, and that's not how it's supposed to be. You're ready to challenge and defend, yeah, but for all the wrong reasons. How much do we really need? A question, if you have to ask, just means what it means. The question that says everything.
Right and left, it's all the same conspiracy. Just 'cause you ask doesn't make a difference to me. You could keep it all and give it all away, but where did it come from in the first place? Robbing Peter to pay me. Now just be giving it back to Peter to feel free. Now you have to fix something that's broke. It'll never leave you alone. Reinvent the wheel, be the butt of a joke. Take the long road to charity. Right or left, it's all the same conspiracy. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, or robbing Peter to pay me. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, or robbing Peter to pay me. It's just too hard, well jump in. Forget about the sharks, then swim. Now you're one. Yeah, it's just too hard, oh well, jump in. Forget about the sharks and swim. Now you're one. You can't deny it anymore.
Where did it come from? I'm giving it back.
You can't deny it anymore.
It will never leave you alone.
Take the long road to charity.
Where did it come from? Giving it back.
Can't deny it anymore.
It will never leave you alone.
Take the long road to charity.
Where did it come from? Giving it back.
Can't deny it anymore.
It will never leave you alone. Take the long road to charity.
So when I first moved to Boston, I found a house with some friends of friends on Craigslist, and we ended up in Roxbury, and it was right by Haley House Cafe, which I've heard is now no longer operating as a cafe. But I heard all these wonderful things about you have to go to Haley House because they do all these cool programs, and it's good, and you should eat there, and the food is nice, and indeed, all of those things were true. Haley House is an organization that started as a hospitality house in the 60s with some rad Catholics who were trying to house folks, and has now grown into a very multifaceted organization for which I must actually reference my source material to tell you all about the things. It falls into 5 interconnected categories. Direct services like a soup kitchen and food pantry so that people can meet those physical hunger needs. Permanent affordable housing, a very radical thing indeed. Urban agriculture, so that people can get to the roots of things and actually grow food. Education and training, and including for folks who are experiencing reentry from prison, and their social enterprise restaurant, Haley House, that I discussed having gone to. So gets at the root of a lot of the things that Liz was sharing about in the reflection, and I think a wonderful organization for us to be contributing to tonight. So I strongly encourage you to be generous in your offering that we will share half of with the Haley House. And there's also a lot of ways you can give, which are up on there, so you can see them. But you can do the Venmo. You can do the sanctuaryboston.org/donate. You can use that QR code, and it will take you good places to give money. So go forth. And I assume the slide is the same for those on Zoom. So you also can see those things and do those things. So please do. And if you are here and you have a Joy or Concern card, that will also be collected at this time.
Lady Madonna, children at your feet. Wonder how you manage to make ends meet. Who finds the money when you pay the rent? Did you think that money was heaven sent? Friday night arrives without a suitcase. Sunday morning creeping like a nun. Monday's child has learned to tie his bootlace.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
We arrive together, bringing all the joys and sorrows of our complex lives with us this evening. Some of us arrive here wrestling difficult things, feeling the pain of a broken world around us and within us. Some of us arrive full of blessings, brimming with gratitude. For those here in person, from Anonymous, a sorrow. Prayers, please, for Maya, who was just diagnosed with breast cancer in her mid-30s. From Anonymous, my boss sent a really disrespectful email about me earlier this week. She was very stressed at the time, but it crossed a line for sure. From Heather and Justin, a joy. We are excited to share we are expecting a baby. My goodness, congratulations. From sometimes reading handwriting is not my strong suit, and I am sorry for that, so I can't read the name at this moment. But I've been a long, maybe lifetime journey of learning to work with my brain and its challenges. And this fall, I learned again that I might still be at the beginning. Turns out I may have a few more neurodivergences than I thought, including PTSD. I'm learning more about myself, but it might be the hardest work. And for our last one from in person, from Anonymous, for the Israeli man I met on the Orange Line, his wife and children are being held hostage by Hamas. I asked what I could do, and he said to give moral support and think of them.
Please join me in singing. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
We now invite those of you joining online to share any joys or sorrows you're carrying with you in the chat box. I'll share them out loud here from the mic. If you'd like me to keep it anonymous, please message me directly. I am Rhea, R-H-E-A, parentheses, joys and sorrows. That is Rhea, R-H-E-A, parentheses, joys and sorrows. From Hannah, my heart is aching for all the people in Las Vegas and the Pacific Northwest. From Yvonne, my uncle's funeral is this Friday. My heart aches for my aunt. From Kevin, trying to find Medicare coverage for orthodontic braces. From Susan, I am grieving for the thousands of people killed in Gaza and the ones living without adequate water, food, housing, or fuel. From Meg, some kids were hurt badly outside our school this week. From Anonymous, grateful to be on a retreat and accessing the service. From Sarah, enjoying being in my hometown. Oh, sorry, incorrect name. From Tayward, enjoying being in my hometown and celebrating a little early Christmas and learning more stories of ornaments, handmade and otherwise. From Poppy, it's the first Christmas without my dad who died in May. And from Sarah, enjoying sharing time with Tayward. From Shia, we got our pup to sleep through the night. I'll give a few more breaths for anyone else who might want to share online. It seems that is all of our folks online who are going to share for this evening.
Please join me once again in singing. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit who allows for messiness and asks us to hold one another. We know there are some sorrows that are too hard to share, and some joys that are just not out yet, and some things we will have meant to share and have forgotten by the time we got and realized when we got in the car we meant to. And for that, we hold all of those in this moment. Spirit, we ask you to hold medical worries from insurance to hard diagnosis of beloveds. We ask you to hold the hard things that happen in work and between one another. We continue to pray for a world without war, without hostages, that thousands will no longer be killed, that the hostages will go free in Palestine and Israel. We pray that people feel connected in a season that is often hard and rough as the days get longer, but community grows closer. We know that we have strength in one another, and we know that things will always be messy, but in the messiness there is joy, and in the messiness we can hold our sorrow together. For the future we hope for, and for the present we have. Amen, and blessed be.
Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. are a living sanctuary anew.
In a moment, we'll sing again, Sanctuary, as a reminder that sanctuary isn't just a place, but it's something we cultivate for each other and for ourselves and for our world. After we've sung it through once, we'll switch to humming. And as we hum, those here in person are invited to light candles at any one of the tables, the front, the center, or in the back corner. We light candles here to represent the inner flame, the divinity in each of us. And as we pass the taper one to the next, we take a moment to recognize the divinity of the person next to us. Whether your own flame is burning brightly, barely flickering, or some of both, there's a divinity there. Those online, Mark David had the great idea. I asked, what can we invite our online folks to do? And if you'd like, you can take this time while we're humming and lighting candles here in person to skim through the names, scroll through the faces, and take a few moments and recognize the divinity there in each face, in each name amongst you across space and time. After our room is aglow and our Zoom screens also aglow, we'll sing Sanctuary a few more times together. Let's join now in singing.
Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary anew. Please join me in singing. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary
Beloveds, whether you are going home this week to your penthouse or to plan your next broccoli caper, whether you are hungry physically or hungry spiritually, be good to yourselves. Be gentle to yourselves. In this season of unrealistic expectations, remember that people are shaped by the culture, and you are the people, and you are the culture. Shape what you can, change what you can, and be gentle with yourselves along the way. Go in peace, go in love, and go and be blessed as you are each a blessing to others. Amen.
So it might be a fun one to stand for if you know it.
It might be, yeah. If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a house.
I would buy you a house.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
I'd buy you furniture for your house.
maybe a nice Chesterfield or an Ottoman.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a K car.
a nice Reliant automobile.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
I'd buy a tree fort for our yard.
if I had $1 million,
You could help, it wouldn't be that hard.
if I had $1 million,
Maybe we could put a little tiny fridge in there somewhere.
yeah, we could just go up there and hang out.
Yeah, like open the fridge and stuff.
There would already be food. It's laid out for everyone.
Like sweet and savory snacks.
Like a charcuterie board.
They don't really have a lot of veggies though.
Well, can you blame them?
Yeah.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a fur coat.
but not a real fur coat, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you an exotic pet.
like a llama
or an emu. And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy John Merrick's remains.
oh, all those crazy elephant bumps.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
Wouldn't have to walk to the store.
if I had $1 million,
We'd take a limousine cause it cost more.
if I had $1 million,
We wouldn't have to eat string cheese for dinner.
but we would eat string cheese for dinner.
Of course we would, we just eat more.
Just cheese for dinner every night.
And all the non-dairy varieties for our vegan friends.
All the fanciest cheeses. If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a green dress.
but not a real green dress, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you some art.
a Picasso or a Garfunkel.
If I had $1 million,
I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a monkey.
haven't you always wanted a monkey?
If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
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 if I had $1 million, be rich.
Shout out to the band for totally rocking it. Extra thanks, particularly from me to Sam, our guest drummer this evening, so I could take the night off and do some training for our setup team, which is very exciting. I don't know if y'all are excited about training for setup teams as I am, but I'm excited about it. A couple other invitations as our final ritual of the evening. The card swap sign-up has ended. If you signed up for the card swap, pay attention to your email. There is news coming your way, and people are going to be sending each other all kinds of cards and sweet little gifts this holiday season. Our next worship is coming up on December 20th. Everybody say December 20th. And say Arlington Street Church. I want you to remember that because it's only once a year that we go to Arlington Street Church, and this is that time of year for our special carol sing, which is going to be so good. Oh my gosh. Xmas isn't Xmas without the X and without the Sanctuary Boston Carol Sing, which we're doing with Arlington Street Church. Again, it's going to be so lovely. It's always just so much magic. The X stands for Christ, Heather. That's what I learned in Lutheran school in religion class. They told us, they were like, it's okay to say X because it means Jesus. So I learned that in 7th grade. That's the next service, December 20th. Where? Arlington Street Church. You got it. Also online, as always. A couple other things. We're going to be doing small groups this winter, January through March, so keep an eye out as well for the announcements for all the different kinds of groups. I hope that we're going to have a money conversations group, again, per our worship topic today, as well as all of our other great groups that we always got. And also, I think we're just this evening sharing the registration for this year's pastoral care training. Pastoral care is the kind of thing chaplains do in hospitals and in lots of other places, but it's about learning to be present with people who are going through some real shit. And if you have ever struggled with what to say to a friend who is going through a hard time, who lost somebody, or who's grieving, if you've ever struggled with how to be present with someone, this training is for you. For all of us in this community to up our skills and learn how to be together better, how to take better care of each other as we go through hard things, because the world is hard, friends. And so everyone is invited to this training. Sanctuary Boston also has a spiritual care team. They'll be there. They're going to be like re-upping their training as well. And hopefully we'll be finding some new members at this training to join that team for the coming year. But this is a training for everybody. Anybody who has ever wanted to be better, to know more about grief and how it works and how to be present with people who are going through difficult times, we hope you'll join us. It's January 20th, which is a Saturday, all day long, 9:30 to 5. And Reverend Erica is going to be our amazing trainer again this year, back by popular demand. I was like, do you guys want to do a different trainer? Should we mix it up? And people were like, no. We want Reverend Erica, who was totally awesome and rocked our socks last year. January 20th, mark your calendars. That's all I got for you. That and hang out for a while and chat and say hello to your old friends and your not yet friends and meet some new folks and go in peace, dear ones. Blessings.